Should technology be devoid of ethics, or should ethics be the lighthouse developers of technology should always look for guidance? Well, Suchirbalaji definitely preferred the second option. Suchirbalaji, aged 26 years, was found dead in his apartment in San Francisco on November 26, 2024. Initial reports, based on what the police said, pointed to death by suicide. That should have been the end of the case. That is until his mother decided to go public with details in her possession. This is what she had to tell Tucker Carlson.
That's right. There are 7 evidences that were very critical, which has not been picked up by the authorities. Within 40 minutes, they concluded they haven't even picked up critical things like a bag with blood that has my son's saliva in it. They haven't picked that up. And how could they miss hairs falling all over from the wig?
But who was Suchirbalaji? What was he saying or doing which made him a target for murder? Before proceeding, let me say that we are not taking sides in the story, but collating whatever is available in public domain. Suchir was national champion for computing Olympiad in the US in the year 2016.
He studied his bachelor's in computer science from UC Berkeley, the top school. He had 4.0 GPA throughout. As soon as he graduated, he started working in OpenAI as a researcher, AI researcher. His first project was WebGPT, for which a fresh graduate, he took the lead role. And that WebGPT turned out into be ChatGPT, an application.
Yes.
This was a publication of 4 people. One of them is Suchir. Following this, he worked at OpenAI for pre-training data. That means he was scooping up all the internet data, feeding to ChatGPT's AI model. Following this, he worked
which is the fuel that it runs on. It needs massive amounts of data in order to become what it is, right? That's
the speed at which ChatGPT works and the amount of information it provides requires consumption of massive amount of data. He worked under John Schulman, an OpenAI co-founder, who has praised Balaji's contribution to WebGPT and GPT-4. Schulman has described him as meticulous, detail-oriented, and a brilliant coder. Suchir had been vocal about ethical and legal issues he observed during his time at OpenAI, which he left in August 2024. He wrote a detailed article on his webpage, suchir.net, When Does Generative AI Qualify for Fair Use?, where he took on ChatGPT on fair use of copyrighted material by citing Article 107 of the Copyright Act. He explained empirically that none of the factors of fair use qualified ChatGPT's training data as fair use of copyrights. As a footnote, Suchir also wrote that his arguments were not fundamentally specific to ChatGPT either, and similar arguments could be made for many generative AI products in a wide variety of domains. In an interview with the New York Times shortly before his death, he alleged that ChatGPT's AI models were trained on copyrighted material scrapped from the internet without authorization, and ChatGPT had violated US copyright law. He was later named as custodian witness by the New York Times in its lawsuit against OpenAI, suggesting that he had the documents against OpenAI. In short, Suchir was a whistleblower who we presume could potentially damage his previous employer with the evidence he had. But what is the basis on which his mother, Purnima Rao, is convinced that Suchir did not commit suicide and was in fact murdered? This is what she told Tucker Carlson about what she discovered in his apartment after his death.
The official explanation is your son shot himself once in the head and the bullet entered the brainstem and extinguished life immediately.
Can I say something there?
Yes.
It didn't touch his brainstem at all.
Oh.
It didn't even touch his brain. And the angle, is downwards.
Yes. Well, I'm saying the official explanation is he shot himself once in the head, he died.
Yes.
But these photographs show that that's not at all what happened, because there's blood all over the apartment. There's blood on the door, on the floor, in the bathroom. There's blood everywhere. So that right there, just employing common sense, tells you that that the person from whom that blood came, your son, presumably, did not have a fatal brain injury, at least when he was bleeding. I mean, something was going on in the apartment,
Yes.
right? The second thing that jumps out is that there is a tuft of hair that's not hair. It's from a wig.
It's from a wig. And there's a clip scene.
It's okay. So tell us what that is for people who don't know. It's part of a clip-in wig.
Like there is some kind of plastic band or something that fits the wig on the head. We can see that coming out behind the door.
Yes.
And that's obvious evidence that no crime scene investigators or police can miss. They just ignored everything that showed murder and they picked up everything that showed a cover-up suicide.
But how could they ignore? So your son did not, I mean, he was a 26-year-old man with short hair from pictures. He's not wearing a wig, correct?
No, he is not.
Right.
And these hairs are not his. This investigator's analysis looked at the hair from the autopsy pictures, that my son's hair, and this is not his hair.
While we must admit that we personally have no evidence to support what Purnima Rao is saying, the evidence she has produced definitely looks damaging and does suggest some sort of foul play. It is therefore essential that the justice system in US investigates the matter and comes up with satisfying answers. If there has indeed been a murder because of the Whistleblowing Act, then the consequences are damaging. In 2024, two whistleblowers from Boeing who had raised concerns about security of Boeing aircrafts have also died mysteriously. Both OpenAI and Boeing have direct linkage with the security of users and need a proper investigation to restore the faith of the people. For the moment, the revelations made by Suchir's parents raises questions about ethics and technology, and the paramount question, will this race to be the all in technology lead to a dehumanization of the people working on it? Will the race to be the fastest be at the expense of morals? While these questions might seem meaningless for many, it is imperative that humans remain central to the technology at a time when the civilization, as we know it, is at the cusp of a technological revolution which could forever change the way we exist. French philosopher René Descartes' famous maxim, cogito ergo sum, which means I think, therefore I am, and its emphasis on the critical faculty of thinking needs to be embedded in not only the development of technology but also the people who develop it. Suchirbalaji's death is not the only problem confronting OpenAI. The number of big-ticket lawsuits it faces has tremendous damaging powers. Elon Musk claims that OpenAI and its biggest promoter, Microsoft, illegally sought to monopolize the market for generative artificial intelligence and sideline competitors. Musk has accused OpenAI and its chief executive, Samaltman, of violating contract provisions by putting profits ahead of the public good in the push to advance AI. Never before has a corporation gone from tax-exempt charity to a $157 billion for-profit market paralyzing Gorgon, and in just 8 years, the complaint says. It seeks to void OpenAI's license with Microsoft and force them to diverse ill-gotten gains. Musk, incidentally, was one of the original co-founders of AI. Incidentally, Suchir, according to his mother, was feeling the same concerns of the ill effects of not-for-a-profit company turning into a private limited company at the expense of human good. A group of news organizations, the New York Times, the Times, the New York Daily News, and the Center for Investigative Reporting have taken OpenAI to a federal court in the US. Other publishers like the Associated Press, News Corp, and Vox Media have reached content sharing deals with OpenAI, but the litigants in this case are taking the opposite approach. They are going on the offensive. The fundamental argument in the case is that the data that powers ChatGPT has included millions of copyrighted works from the news organizations, articles that the publications argue were used without consent or payment. Now, that is something the publishers say amounts to copyright infringement on a massive scale. OpenAI, on its part, has argued that the vast amount of data used to train its artificial intelligence models has been protected by fair use rules. That is a doctrine in the American law that allows copyrighted material to be used for things like educational, research, or commentary purposes. Remember, it was the fair use argument which Suchir had debated in his article, and he was listed as a witness by the New York Times. The Indian news agencies, ANI, Asian News International, has also sued OpenAI, the creators of ChatGPT, alleging copyright infringement, false attribution, and improper use of their content. The case brings four critical issues to the forefront concerning the rights of media organizations in the age of artificial intelligence. While OpenAI defends its practices as legitimate and transparent, ANI claims highlights complexities of data usage, copyright, and attribution in the digital era. Lawyers arguing against OpenAI have based their argument on the premise that it is lawfully using work of publishers to create artificial intelligence products that compete with it and threaten the ability of the original publisher to provide that service. The argument is further elaborated to say that using the valuable intellectual property of others in these ways is without paying for it has been extremely lucrative for OpenAI. Apart from the fair use arguments, which we discussed earlier in the video, the lawyers for OpenAI say that their artificial intelligence models are fed data, which is then sorted into a series of tokens, units that make analyzing the data more manageable. Eventually, the model can recognize patterns. OpenAI argues that ChatGPT does not reproduce articles in its entirety, as it is not designed to do so, and it is not a document retrieval system but a large language mode. As the arguments for and against OpenAI carries on in the courts, Suchirbalaji's parents carry on with the hopes of finding justice. Was he targeted for being a whistleblower? Did he become the fall guy as tech companies slug it out with their AI models and the desire to outsprint others by means not always ethical? Or did he really give up, as has been the story fed to us, till Purnima Rao went public with her allegation? What befalls the First Amendment in the US Constitution? Now, God forbid if the accusations of murder turn out to be correct, then the First Amendment is in real trouble. The debate between human values, ethics, and tech supremacy, devoid of the two, or what of it? The questions are many. We can only wait for answers. Thank you.